Welcome to the planting a patio gardener portion of our kids cooking school. We're going to plant a patio salad container today. We have some potting soil here, and I was going to say normally I would be doing this outside, but since we are still snowing and actually we have snow on the ground, we are doing this ahead of time, and so we'll talk about care of your plants on the inside while we're waiting for our weather to warm up, so before we can put the things outside and start our growing season. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is I do like to pre-wet my soil. So I'm going to get a little water here, and we're going to pre-wet this because this is a lot less disruptive to the seeds than if we do it from the top to begin with. So we are going to be planting a pepper plant, we're going to be planting a tomato plant, and we're going to plant some cool weather salad greens. I think that we probably will go with the lettuce and with a radish to get that started. If we plant these cool weather crops, and I'll talk about this, we can enjoy them now before the tomato and the pepper plant will overtake, and then we'll be able to enjoy our pepper plant and tomatoes later on in the growing season. So, and again, we like to pre-wet our soil. When we talk about pre-wetting the soil, we don't want it just so saturated that if you hold it up, water comes out. We just want it moist. And I might need a little bit more water in here, so I'm just going to continue working with it to see how much moisture I have. I don't want it too moist, but I want it moist enough so that I'm not having to start overhead watering today. Okay, I think I might need a little more water. And if you have a tray, this is my potting tray, and if you have a container or a shallow container that you can pot your plants in, it makes it so much easier. You don't have the mess that you normally would have, and you can work with your soil this way. It'd be kind of hard if I put everything in that pot and tried to work down from the very base of the pot. Okay, I think, see how our soil is starting to, it holds together just, well, maybe we might need just a little bit more. Still kind of falling apart on me a little bit. Okay, when I squeeze it, we don't have any water that's coming out of that. That's exactly where we want it to be. And for most of you, you will be doing overhead watering. If you are more of a little bit more of the advanced person, you might want to install a drip irrigation. I'm not hooking my drip up today, but eventually this pot is going to be on drip. And you don't have to do this, but it's something that I do, and since I'm planning this for myself, mine will be on a drip system. So just leave a little bit of that hanging out, and I'll want something to hold the water in. Now, do you need to put rocks in the bottom of a container for drainage? Absolutely not. If you've ever tried the sponge experiment, take a regular kitchen sponge and wet it, saturate it totally. Tip it up on its side, tip it up on the short edge, and then tip it up on the other edge, which is kind of the medium. And you'll notice where the water sits. We don't want our roots actually sitting in the water, and that's what happens if you put rock in there, because it holds the soil, or it holds the water at the bottom level of the soil. We don't want that to happen. So let's just go ahead and we can start filling our container with our potting mix. Okay, since I'm going to be causing the most disruption with the two big plants, we'll start with those. But before we start with our vegetables, we do like to put some fertilizer in with our planting soil. It's because our vegetables are heavy feeders. And if we put our fertilizer in now, while they are it can use the fertilizer later on in the season. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm just going to take a handful or so of our fertilizer. And I'm going to work that into the top layers of our soil. Now, as it's watering, the fertilizer will sink down, but we will have to fertilize throughout the season, especially in these patio containers. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to place and dig out a spot for our first pot. And the first one that we're going to plant is this tomato. Okay, and we love tomatoes. Just think about what you will be doing with your hamburgers that you can do. This is actually a salsa tomato as well. But you better boy, early girls, big boy, all good slicing tomatoes. And you see, and well, actually, let me pull that back out of here for just a second. It's not going to hurt it when I do that, but you'll notice that it really isn't root bound at all. We don't need to break up the roots on it. That just disturbs them. We don't need to touch it. It's going to have enough of a shock as we transplant it. And we want to have that at just right below soil level. Okay. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually put our pepper on the opposite side. And then, because that way it has plenty of room to grow, I'm going to pinch the pot. And he isn't really root bound as well. And this is a sweet bell pepper. Those are those green peppers that you see. And they go really good in salads. Now, what I'd like to do with our vegetable seeds, I'm going to take my gloves off. We're actually going to be doing this lettuce. This is a mezcal gourmet lettuce. And since we're going to plant this, and we know that this is early season, so we can use the lettuce now. It'll grow fast, and by the time that the tomato plants overtake the container, we will have had several servings of lettuce from our salad container. So here we go with this. And I'm going to read the directions on here. We might be putting a little bit extra, and I am planting it quite heavy, but that's okay. Save that for other containers. With this one says that we harvest in about 45 days. Today is April 25th, so that means that I can harvest this about June 15th or thereabouts, or not even quite June 15th, maybe June 10th, about there is when I'll be able to harvest that. And then this one also does tell me that I need to sow this very thinly, 1/4 inch of fine soil. So rather than digging troughs in here, I'm just going to be putting a fine layer of soil on top of that. This one talks about 1/2 inch of soil. So these are radishes. And I like radishes, and radishes actually are a cool season plant as well. So since we're growing in a container and we're going to, and it does say on here to plant them about, sow thinly in rows about 6 inches apart. Well, we're going to plant them a little bit closer together. And I don't know what will come up and what won't, but it's kind of an experiment. so we're going to take a little bit more of our soil. And this said about a 1/2 inch over on this side. And that's kind of wet. So, and we're going to just finally tap that into place. And this side said that we needed only about a 1/4 of an inch. So we're just going to very gently rain down our soil from above, like that. And I'm just going to gently pat everything into place. That way the seeds have good contact with the soil. That's important. The seeds need contact with the soil. And we've already pre-moistened it, and we can, we'll be able to moisten it. A spray bottle is how I would start to water this until it germinates. And then the other thing, since it's season, we actually will have this, we will have a grow light on this until we are able to take this outside. So grow lights can be a very good way for you to extend your growing time. And then we're going to put this, when it goes outside, we're going to put this in a nice sunny location. Tomatoes like sun. Don't wet the leaves of your tomato when you water. Water at the soil level because you can introduce all sorts of diseases within diseases, fungus, and then once the plant has a disease, then they signal to the insects that they're in trouble, and that attracts them. So you will avoid disease and insect problems if you water at the soil level. The soil level right around the plant, that's where the roots are, so we want to water as closely as possible to the roots. So I hope you all plant salad containers. Happy growing season.